Hello and welcome to this debate about excluding bullies from school. It will be in 3 versus 3 format with a floor debate. These debaters are in years 7 to 9, so we look forward to hearing their opinions on this school's issue. All speeches are 3 minutes in length. After 30 seconds, a time signal is given to indicate that the other team can offer points of information. 30 seconds before the end, there will be another signal to indicate that no more points of information can be offered. At 3 minutes, there will be a double time signal to indicate the end of the speech. At 3 minutes and 15 seconds, there will be a triple time signal to remind the speaker to end. I'd like to introduce the first speaker from the proposition.
Hello, today I will be the first speaker for the proposition. Today my 3 points will be sex example, help the victims and show the bully how serious what they've done is. Firstly, I would like to offer a definition of what we will be debating today. We would only exclude these bullies if it was what we consider to be bullying, which is this harassment, whether it be verbal, physical or any other means, over a long period of time. For example, if there was one argument in class where someone insulted someone, this would not lead to the person getting kicked out because it was only a one-time situation.
Point of information.
Not taken. And if it was a grey area, then the case would be discussed at a disciplinary board for the teachers to decide the outcome of the situation. On to my first point, sex example. If one bully gets excluded, then it would encourage other bullies to stop what they're doing as they know the new consequences of their actions. Overall, we think that this will improve the school's atmosphere as there will be no bullies offering their negative energy.
Point of information.
Taken.
Don't you think some students should be given a second chance?
We think that by the time this situation will get to what it is with bullying, that it's too far and that the trying to reform them in a sense should be done earlier in the situation when it's just starting in the first week or two. And statistically, with setting an example, these bullying rates will decrease in schools around the country. On to my second point, help the victims. As we know, bullying can have a massive negative effect on a child's mental health, and by getting rid of these bullies, it will help them with these problems. If we leave these bullies in schools, then these students who are the victims mental health problems will continue to get worse and could lead to really serious problems such as depression. They will generally be happier and the mood around school will be better without these bullies. And as my partner will go on to say, these victims can also help others to speak up about if they're getting bullied. On to my last point, show bullies how serious what they've done is. If we exclude them for 1 to 5 days or permanently, this can show the bully that how serious what they've done is and how much of a negative
Point of information.
Not taken. Lots of bullies actually don't know that what they've done is bullying, so when they get excluded, this will give them time to reflect on what they've done. Thank you, and please vote proposition.
Thank you for that speech. Now we will hear from the first opposition speaker.
Bullying. That word is thrown around so much these days, but each person has their own definition of it. We're not here to excuse the behaviour of a bully. We merely want you to see another part of the story that can often be one-sided. You mentioned about mental health in students. Well, we think it's important to think about the mental health of the bully as well. They can feel isolated and become more depressed by feelings of neglect if they're left at home. My 3 points today are going to be deeper issues, second chances and behavioural habits. My first point, deeper issues. Some students may feel the need to bully or take advantage of other students.
Point of information.
Not taken. Due to the fact that they may not have the life that they want and the life that they should be leading. Excluding them could actually have a negative impact, with them then feeling even worse than they did before. Bullies are considered cowards or weak or pathetic. That's what we get told if we're being bullied. But we don't ever think twice about the bully's emotions, feelings and thoughts.
Point of information.
Taken.
If you don't punish bullies strongly, what is to stop them bullying again?
We do believe in punishing bullies, but we do believe in doing it in a slightly different way than just neglecting them. To be told every day that you're a lesser person to somebody else because of your behaviour, well, it's not exactly the best incentive to reform, not for someone who potentially already has extremely low self-esteem. On to my second point, second chances. Children are children and kids will be kids. Don't you think it's a little bit harsh to immediately remove them from an environment as soon as something isn't right? It wouldn't happen in the real world or in a workplace, so it shouldn't happen in schools. Teachers are needed to guide students educationally and morally. A teacher is needed for more than maths equations and should allow students a second chance, as we're all human at the end of the day. And my third point, behavioural habits. Growing up is hard and many children form a tough defensive shell to protect themselves, and habits tend to stick. If a young child creates a demeanour in which they can be seen as standoffish, they aren't going to drop that habit in 2 seconds just because they're being punished in a way that may not affect them in the right way. Those are my 3 points. Now you've heard our side of the story, we beg you to vote opposition. Thank you.
Thank you for that speech. I now invite second proposition speaker to speak.
Hello, I am the second speaker for the proposition team, and I will deliver you 3 crucial points on why to exclude bullies who have offended victims multiple times. My 3 points are helping victims come forward, making schools safer, and helping bullies. However, before I begin, I would like to do my rebuttal for the last points. 1 point was the bullies' feelings. We do consider the bullies' feelings. We take everything into account, and we believe that after multiple offences, they should be excluded. Number 2, second chance. They do get second chances, but they've wasted too many. And the last
Point of information.
Accepted.
Why is getting to watch TV instead of going to lessons a punishment?
We are not saying that the bullies should be going and watching TV instead of just... We are not saying they should be going home and watching TV. We are actually saying they need to go home and think about what they've done and reflect on what they've done. Okay, so my first point is excluding bullies makes victims come forward. This means that students will feel safer and feel more confident. They also know that bullies are being punished. For example, should a victim that's being bullied see another victim being bullied come forward, they will feel more safe going forward. Another point is excluding bullies will make schools safer and the atmosphere will be better. Students will be more comfortable. For example, they won't be relaxed if there's bullies around them. However, if the bullies aren't there, they will feel kind of comfortable and relaxed.
Point of information. Shouldn't bullying be helped rather than punished?
We are trying to help the bullies, but we have to punish them in order to do that. Because if we don't inflict any punishment, then they'll just carry on doing what they were doing. Point 3. Excluding the bully is also a better option for the bully. This is because they can go to a new school and start over. If they return to the school after exclusion, they can just reset and turn over a new leaf. If a bully has a week to reflect on his problems, he will come back different and apologise. I've told you why we should exclude bullies, to make bullies come forward, do it to make the school safer, and it will also be better for the bully. Vote for the proposition.
Thank you. We'll now hear from the second opposition speaker.
Hi, I'm the second speaker from the opposition. My 3 points that I'm going to speak to you about today are other methods rather than just excluding them, attention to victims, and fear of speaking up. But first, I would like to rebut on what the second speaker said. You said about the victims coming forward. What happens if they don't? What happens when they don't? Also, you mentioned about the bully being punished. How will it make it better? It will just cause a problem at the same place or even at a different place. Also, how is it better if they don't change? It will just make matters worse. My first point. There are other methods rather than just excluding them. Excluding them is just the school's easy way out. You just get rid of them so they can do it again and again. This can become a habit.
Point of information.
Taken.
How can people learn if they are too worried about being bullied?
They can learn if they can speak to teachers about it and get information from them. Also in doing this, they get a lot of an education. And this encourages this action to become more familiar and less controlled by the teachers. To counteract this from happening, you could have lots of social time and social isolation. You could talk to the head of year and have some sanctioning like phone confiscation, phone calls home, litter picking and gum scraping. On to my second point. By excluding the bully, this would put pressure on the victim when he or she gets asked questions about what's going on whilst getting bullied. By doing this, this could cause the victim to feel like this is just going to keep going on forever and ever. So this might make them go on to drugs or alcohol and even commit suicide from this problem. My third and final point is that this would make them scared to speak. And so the reaction would make them not come forward. When other victims see this, they won't want to come forward either. And they wouldn't want to come up and say about their bullying. Overall, by excluding them, this would just make matters worse, making them more angry so they would bully more. Also, the victims wouldn't come up and speak. So this wouldn't help with the teachers not knowing what's going on. Thanks for listening. Please vote for us.
Thank you for that speech. Now we will have a floor debate. Please raise your hand if you have a question. Yes.
This is a question for the opposition. Wouldn't seeing your bully around school be hurtful for the victim?
Yes.
This is a question for the proposition. Won't this put a lot of pressure on the teachers to decide who bullies are?
I'll take your question.
This is a question for the proposition. What if the victim does not want the fuss of the bully being excluded?
And you?
This is a question for the opposition. Surely the bully won't realise how serious the bullying was if they don't get a strong punishment.
Does anyone have any more questions? Yep.
This question is for the proposition. What will stop someone accusing another student of bullying just because they don't like them?
I'll take your question.
This is a question for the proposition. Children at school are still only young. Don't they deserve more chances to improve and learn?
And our final question, please.
Even if bullies do need help, surely they can get help at another school.
Thank you for our 4 speeches. We will now hear it from the opposition summary speaker.
Hello, my name is Jack and today I am opposing the motion this House believes that all bullies should be excluded. My 3 points are victims, school roles and the bully. I will be closing this side's debate. Firstly, I will rebut with some answers to these floor questions. You said, wouldn't seeing the bully around school be hurtful for the victim? I say, it could be hurtful, but they would know that they are safer and there is always help. You also said, surely the bully won't realise how serious the bullying was if they don't get a strong punishment. We say, we are not saying that they won't get a strong punishment, but how is exclusion a punishment? It's just an exclusion. The third and final question asked was, even if bullies do need help, surely they can get that help in their next school. I replied to that by saying, surely for the school this would be considered a failure. When in school, a child is under the care of the teachers, but what sort of operation are they running by removing it at the first hurdle? My first point is victims. Bullies are only found out if the victim speaks up. It takes a lot of gut to tell someone, and the victim should not be forced out of their comfort zone if they don't feel comfortable telling someone. If they do speak up and tell someone, there could be consequences like everyone thinking they're a snitch/baby and that the bullying was only a joke. This could cause further issues. We are not saying that they should not speak up, but excluding the bully could make the circumstances worse. Secondly, I repeat what my partner has said about school roles. He has already said about better methods of sorting this out, like social isolation, phone confiscation and parent phone calls. Taking these away, along with other privileges, only a few ideas, will be more beneficial rather than just an exclusion. They should deserve a second chance. First impressions aren't always correct. Like my partner said, don't you think for some students getting excluded, going home and watching Netflix is a nice idea? You said that they should go home and think about what they have done, but will they? My final point is the bully. Some students might have a difficult home life, as my partner has said before. We are not saying that this is right. The bully taking out all their anger on the victim, but it makes them feel better. There are ways to prevent this. This is basically, as we have said before, the school's easy way out, so that they don't have to go through the stress of sorting it out. In conclusion, we believe that bullies should have a second chance, but they will still be sanctioned. Thank you for your time. Please vote opposition.
Thank you for your that speech. Next, I invite the proposition summary to conclude this debate.
Good afternoon, I'm the summary speaker for the proposition. Before I recap our 3 significant points, I would like to answer some of the floor's queries. Firstly, you mentioned about the pressure put on teachers to decide who the bullies are and as well as how or who will distinguish students lying or exaggerating. Teachers deal with these grey areas all the time, and most likely much worse. So we can trust that the majority will be able to deduce the truth out of these students. In addition to this, as well as teachers, senior members of staff will be able to be introduced and will be able to decide. You also asked about the victims' worries when having bullies expelled. Teachers and staff, when introducing this new rule, will talk about students speaking out against bullying. As well as this, over the years, speaking out against bullying has grown and grown, and with the addition of social media platforms and many influencers, we can be guaranteed that most students will feel comfortable speaking about their own well-being rather than protecting someone who's made their lives a misery. Finally, you stated that children at school are young and should be given second chances. Chances will be given in schools as bullying itself can be repeated. But ask yourself, how many chances can you give to someone who's repeatedly abused their power and others? The real world does not stand for bullying and it takes drastic action. So why do schools? Now, to recap our 3 important points. Firstly, setting examples to other bullies. By offering a punishment as severe as exclusion or inclusion, this will show other perpetrators that their actions are not tolerated and to be careful and kind in the future. In addition to this, bullying rates will most definitely drop. My second point is fresh starts. By sending the bully to a new school, you're not only helping the victims, but you're the bully themselves. By sending them to a new school, you are giving them a chance to change for the better, to clear the canvas and to start a new life as a better person. This links to my third and final point, improving the lives of the victims. With the worries of the bully's abuse gone, students can now focus on the fundamental part of school, education, and they can change for the better. Thank you for listening and please vote for the proposition.
Thank you. We now have an audience vote. Please raise your hand if you support proposition. Please raise your hand if you support opposition. Please raise your hand if you abstain. Proposition are the winners. Congratulations to all the debaters. Now I invite you to shake your hands with your opposition.